Good afternoon and welcome into another edition of Crunch Time. I am your host, Michael Wags, Wagon Connect, joined alongside by my wonderfully groomed co-host, Joe Hamilton. Joe, how are you doing this beautiful Monday? It's a heat wave all of a sudden going on in here, St. Louis. First full day of spring training, it had to basically feel like Florida, right?
Well, not necessarily, but you know what? 40 and 50 degrees makes it feel like 80, 90 degrees with no problem. So, you know what? I'm happy we're getting a February thaw. Usually you hear of a January thaw, but not necessarily a February thaw. And they say March is going to be cold, so I don't know.
It's St. Louis, so you never know what's going to happen when it comes to the weather. Like I said, spring training is officially going on down in Florida now. The entire squad for the Cardinals are down there, among other teams. Things are getting going down there. Nolan Arenado had a chance to get into the cage. You saw guys like Zach Thompson out there. It just makes you excited, and you cannot wait for baseball to start. And before we move into our special guest today, I just want to wish you, Joe, as a hockey-loving American, I want to wish you a happy anniversary, because do you know what today is?
Yeah, today, back in 1980, that famous speech that we all heard Kurt Russell on the screen, but Herb Brooks, that team was so inspiring, and I may have to go watch Miracle later, because that whole Olympics shaped what America is now.
Yeah, it was 41 years ago. The Miracle on Ice happened. Just a bunch of young college boys got together and beat a powerhouse Russian team in what is, in our minds, probably one of the greatest moments in sports history for America. It's definitely one of the movies that made me cry as a man. And honestly, every red-blooded American male has to have cried at the end of that movie, just because of the sheer power of what it meant. So just wanted to wish you, as a hockey-loving fan, a happy 41st anniversary. You know, we weren't alive during it, but seeing that movie and kind of reliving that was really, really cool for us as well. And just a quick hello from one of my new co-hosts on Blue Notes Pod, Blues Fan Reacts. Hello, Mason. Thanks for joining us. Hope your colon's doing okay. And if you don't know what that means, make sure you check out the newest edition of Blue Notes Pod that dropped today. Let's go ahead and get started with our wonderful special guest, just a guy that we don't know a whole lot about, because we haven't really gotten a whole chance to really dive into the minor league system with the Cardinals, with Memphis and now the Springfield Cardinals. But we are just honored to be joined by Vice President of Stadium Operations and the second general manager in team history, Mr. Dan Reiter. Dan, thank you so much for taking the time out today to join us. I know you're excited and getting ready for the start, thankfully, of a minor league season. But once again, thanks for joining us.
Glad to. Last week we finally released a schedule, and it has everyone excited, and that includes both myself and our staff.
Yeah, we were very excited to see that as well, because after last year, the struggles not only Major League Baseball, but the minor league system had to go through, it's just great that we're going to have actual games taking place this year. And you already kind of said it, but how excited were you guys in the organization to know that starting on May 11th, you guys are going to have games played?
It's actually May 4th, so don't forget that week. Yeah, I want to get those games in. No, it feels great. In last year, what I've tried to talk to people about is everyone who works here, we love baseball. We love the Cardinals. We love what we do. And last year we lost that. And so we still were able to focus on trying to help the community and trying to give back. But we really lost the main purpose that we work here. And mentally, I think it was a struggle for all of us. But now it's exciting. And one of the things that did make it a little different for us last year compared to other minor league teams was that we hosted the alternate site. And I didn't actually get a watch, and this is what people are like, oh, you got to watch baseball. Like, no, I didn't. Last year, they were very careful on the way they had the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And so we only had a few spots that were in that tier 2. And instead of myself, a gentleman named Scott Spolzinski, he was the one that really got to work with the players, help with the travel, the food, the transportation. But we didn't get to watch baseball last summer. We didn't get to have our fans here, but we still felt like we were able to contribute to the success of the St. Louis Cardinals. And ultimately, that's one of the main focuses for us, is to make sure that we can help the big Cardinals succeed.
That is wonderful. Yeah, we don't know a whole lot about the minor leagues system here, especially in St. Louis. We know what it's produced for the Cardinals and for some other teams, unfortunately. But it's great to hear that. But I kind of want to backtrack a little bit, because once again, we don't know a whole lot about the Springfield Cardinals or yourself. So kind of introduce yourself. Talk to us a little bit about how you got into this position. I was reading an interview you gave back in 2017 about kind of how a contest got you propelled into the role you're in right now.
Yeah, I took a little different path than most, but our franchise has been here since 2005. And so I think that's kind of an important timeline for people to know, is the Springfield Cardinals started in 2005. The way that I got involved, I had graduated. I went to high school here in Springfield. So this is home for my family. Graduated high school from Springfield Catholic High School, went to school at Mizzou. Studied to get a marketing degree, because I never really knew what I wanted to get, which I will say, if you know anyone who majored in marketing or communications, they were probably a lost soul, but they were also a lot of fun. And that's kind of what I've realized, is that if you don't know what to do, you pick marketing or communications. But I got a marketing degree there. I paid my way through school. I'm very proud of that. And at the end, because I paid my way, I didn't have to start, using my degree and working right away. So one day I was doing odds and ends contracting jobs. One day there was a Cardinals day game, and I stayed home to watch it. Just didn't feel like working. And there was a TV contest called Paying Your Dues on Fox Sports Midwest to be president of the Cardinals for a day. So I had a friend record me on a VHS, so it kind of dates it a little bit. But he sent in the tape to Fox Sports, and they picked me. So I went up to Busch Stadium and did all this random stuff. And as much as I always loved the Cardinals, I loved baseball, I'd really never thought about working in there. So what I did was I realized it was a passion. I wanted to do this. I canceled other job interviews that I had finally lined up. And, at the very end, I met the president of the Cardinals, who at the time was Mark Lamping. And he's like, "You have any questions?" I go, "Yeah. Are you guys going to move a minor league team to Springfield?" Which I realized in hindsight was a horrible question to ask on the spot when they were recording. But I was a 23-year-old fan. I just wanted to know if the city that I called home was going to have Cardinals minor league baseball. But I made a really positive impression on him. They did end up announcing a few months later they were going to move a team to Springfield. And when I interviewed, they interviewed 300 people to hire 5. And because I had made such a positive impression, I was literally the throw-in hire. I was sales rep number 6. So I was the throw-in hire on year 1, and have slowly worked my way up to be general manager. I absolutely love what I do. I never really wanted to be in sales, but it's easy for me to sell something that I love and I'm passionate about. And again, the fact of the timing, the organization starting in 2005 when I was getting started on my career, a lot of sales jobs, a lot of marketing jobs, a lot of management along the way. And then in 2017, I became the second general manager in team history.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And Dan, how you doing, first of all?
I'm happy. I mean, we're going to play baseball this year. I'm thrilled.
I mean, that's amazing in itself. And you gotta try and pull this up. What am I thinking?
You're okay, Joe. You're okay.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and chime in real quick while you're getting something pulled up. But just like you, I was lucky enough. I went to Broadcast Center up here in St. Louis a couple years ago, and I actually got to take part in the KMOX sports commentator for a day. I was actually one of the 3 finalists. Unfortunately, I didn't win, but that's kind of it makes me feel kind of good that someone that won a contest has the chance to potentially work in a field and capacity that you do. And you talk about 2017. Getting that call essentially to be the general manager. What was that moment like for you after everything that you put in?
Well, I cried. I mean, I'm a crier. So you guys talk about Miracle. Yeah, I'd probably watch it and cry. When I got married, my groomsmen all took wagers on when I would cry. So I cried. But it meant a lot. To love a franchise the way I love the Cardinals. in my job title, it's actually vice president / general manager. And it's because I'm a vice president for the St. Louis Cardinals and then general manager in Springfield. And, it meant a lot. I was getting texts from friends and family that live in St. Louis, and, they were hearing on sports talk radio that their cousin was the new GM in Springfield. And it was a really cool thing for my family. And that's a part of why I love my job. It's given me and my family some amazing access, amazing memories. I got engaged at the ballpark here in Springfield. It wasn't at a game. It was just kind of a very private moment. But the same thing, we had 2 sons, and for both of our kids, we had a gender reveal party at the ballpark. And, this place is very important. It's very special to me. And it's a job that I'm extremely passionate about. And I think that's what's kept me here so long. Minor league baseball has a pretty high turnover rate, but I've made it into a pretty long career because I love it and I'm passionate about it.
Yeah, and that passion fuels excitement, that's for sure. What are you most proud of in the 3+ years you've been at the helm?
I love our staff. I think that our staff, whenever I took over, the old general manager, Matt Gifford, he left me one Post-it, and that Post-it said, challenge everything. And it really, to me, was encouraging to know that, the person leaving wasn't going to look back and wonder why I made changes. And I think to me, that was very encouraging to try to challenge everything. But it's not about me, it's about our team. And I think if you want to have a company that's got a good culture, if you want to develop leaders, it has to be about the team looking for changes, not just me. And even right before this, we got off of a call talking about potential changes. But in the last 3 years, we've really put a lot of focus on not just coming to a ball game, but experiences. And I think that our staff has really, they've gotten creative. They've created great new things. But I think we've done it and had a lot of fun. And I think that as we've worked on improving our own company culture, I think that transcends to the fans, that we're also making better fan experiences. And so I think kind of that positive cycle of the employees and the fans is what I'm really the most proud of.
I tell you what, I work for Chick-fil-A as my full-time job, and that's the exact sort of culture and mindset that we go through as well. So it's nice to see that you can translate that to other, jobs and other organizations. It just makes you feel proud to be part of the Cardinals organization.
Well, you can tell when someone loves what they do. And I love what I do. And I think it's important to make sure that we hire other people who want to love it too. And I think that that's kind of that culture that we're really looking for, because you can just sense it. And you can sense when you have an employee who's genuinely smiling, and you can sense when you have an employee who's faking it. And, I tell everyone the number one factor I hire on is likability. Because if I don't like you, I won't hire you. I don't want to work with someone I don't like. And on top of it, you're going to represent the Cardinals. And if you're going to walk into a meeting and they don't like you either, the meeting's not going to go well. So I want to hire on likability. But once they're here, I think it's my job to make sure that we have the culture that keeps them still liking it. And I think that's really, that's what I want to work really hard on, is that positive employee culture. Because I think once you have it, I think it makes everything else. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier.
Yeah, it certainly does. And you do have a new manager this year, Jose Reiter. What drew you to hiring him, and how does his culture and style fit with the Cardinals organization as a whole?
Well, sure. First of all, I didn't hire him, so we'll kind of crush that right there.
Okay.
So the title of general manager, I actually think it's very, it's been around for a long time in minor league baseball that you're the GM. Really, if you were going to look at it, I would be, either a vice president of business operations or a president of business operations on for another company. I work on the sales and marketing side, and all of the player decisions, all of the manager decisions, all the staffing, all of those come from the St. Louis Cardinals front office. And so, one of the things that's very unique about Springfield, though, is that we're owned by St. Louis, and not all minor league teams have that association. So I work very closely with them, but the stuff that I work with them on has nothing to do with those moves. Honestly, I think it'd be a career limiting move if I ever called them and told them, you need to hire this guy. I think it'd be a really good way to find myself walking out the door, is to help make their decisions on players and coaches. I do not think that would be very welcome.
And then that's what we're trying to learn here, because it is. I mean, you hear the word general manager and you think, okay, this guy or this person's in charge of this, that, and all of that. And with baseball and sports in general, having those different tiers, you have different things you're responsible for. And that's a really good insight, because a lot of people they don't know about those kinds of things. So, go ahead and expand a little bit more on that. Like, what exactly are you in charge of? What different things do you promote as far as being the VP and general manager?
Yeah, sure. So, like I say, really, it's my job to coordinate everything else. And so I'm working with our groundskeeper. I'm working with our gentleman in charge of stadium operations. I'm working with our director of ticket operations. I'm working on coming up with marketing campaigns on which giveaway items we want to do. A lot of public speaking and going around to local rotaries. And, I can't wait till we can shake hands again. I miss shaking hands with people. But really, it's the sales, it's the marketing, it's the facility, the field, accounting, which is not my passion. Luckily, I have some great people surrounding me, and we work with some of the great staff in the St. Louis Cardinals. But that's a lot of it. And right now, what's going on in Major League and Minor League Baseball, the minor leagues are now a part of the Major League Baseball system with the professional development leagues. So everyone's just referring it to the PDL. And so we're a member of that now. And so really, I'm going to help implement this new system. And all of minor league facilities are going to be changing to really modernize, to make it a better experience for the players. And so what we're going to look to do over the next few years is how can the stadium change in order to accomplish that for the players and the coaches. So we'll be working with a lot of contractors coming up very, very shortly, which will be a new challenge for me. But, for me, my passion is always going to be the sales, the marketing, the PR, and that's where my strength is. So I probably work a little more heavily on that than maybe other general managers. But that's also why it's important to hire great people. I don't need to worry about the field when we have a great groundskeeper. I don't need to worry about the stadium when you have a great person that's running it. I don't need to worry about the ticketing system when I have an expert. That's the thing to me, is that I'm very confident to acknowledge what I don't know. And I don't need to know how to do everything. I need to know how to do some of it, but I know how to surround myself with people who are experts in their field.
Missing a season last year hurt. How did that affect the organization? How did that affect you guys?
I'm a person who looks at opportunity. And to me, whenever I took over as general manager, I really wanted to do a couple of things. And I wanted to make it a lot more fun in the ballpark. I wanted to focus on experiences, but also wanted to get us more involved in the community. And the easier thing is to focus on the stadium. So I really think those first 3 years, those first 2.5 years, it was about what we were doing in stadium. Well, once this happened, it really became an opportunity to engage our community even better. And so we saw, I'm not a person who wanted to go hide under a rock. Our team, we made it a point early on to say, hey, we're not going to put videos out that say we miss baseball. We're going to put videos out that say we love the community. And so we kind of came up with we called it the Fly Together initiative. And we helped organize a blood drive that got enough donors to save over 1,000 lives. That was all of our sponsors. We did a really cool t-shirt program where we bought them from local vendors. All the money that we made from them, we turned around and bought food from local restaurants and local franchise restaurants that we then gave the food to frontline workers. On top of that, the Halloween, is a great example where Halloween, so many events got canceled for families. So we figured out how to do a open air, socially distanced trick-or-treating where kids got to sign up. And so for a lot of kids, it was the only trick-or-treating they got the entire year. So for us, it was an opportunity to really focus on how we could help in the community. And our staff did an amazing job. And I think that's the part is I'm telling the story, but it wasn't me that did it. It was our entire staff. And that was our opportunity. Did I miss baseball? Yeah, really badly. Opening day, I'd always had it circled on my calendar. Here's the opening day for the Springfield Cardinals. It was so weird to be at my house. So I did the only thing I could think of that was natural was I went on the back porch. I grilled hot dogs and brats and with my wife and my 2 sons, and I cracked open a Bud Select. And if I couldn't have baseball, that seemed like the most baseball thing I could do that day.
Well, you talk about, the PDL, and you talk about really what minor league baseball is about. It's kind of like grassroots. I mean, it's being a part of the community. It's building the love of the game through that. Now that you are I mean, you say you're owned by St. Louis, so that's something that's been a part of this organization for a while. But now that you kind of see Major League Baseball incorporating minor leagues into their structure, is there going to be any changes or more financial opportunity for a single A, double A, triple A team to kind of grow even bigger than what you guys have already been able to do at the grassroots campaign?
I think there's going to be there are significant changes already happening. There's more that's going to come. I think a year from now, then we'll start being able to say, oh, this is what was different. Oh, this is how it worked out. So as far as where those are going to be, we're not for sure. We know facilities are going to change. Personally, I think there is going to be some amazing new opportunities because in minor league baseball, we're stretched very thin. You wear a lot of hats. You do a lot of different things. But now that we're falling underneath the Major League Baseball umbrella, they have amazing experts. And I think that what they're going to help be able to teach us is going to be so eye-opening. It's going to help our business practices. I'm very excited for what these changes are going to bring because, if you can't tell the way I talked about our staff too, I believe in experts, people who are amazing at their job and trust them to be amazing at their job. And I'm really excited about the opportunities we're going to have to work with Major League Baseball and to learn from some of the best in the entire world at their industry. And I think a year from now, people will be able to explain it a little bit more. But I do think one thing it's going to really bring to the minors is going to be some continuity. In the past, all of the agreements between the big league teams and the minor league teams, they lasted 2 years. So 1 year, you could be a Dodgers affiliate. 2 years later, it's up for renewal and you become, the Angels. 2 years later, you turn around and you're the New York Mets. And some of these teams, they would have a lot of changes back and forth and how they're affiliated. Well, these new agreements, you're going to be there for 10 years. So I think you're going to get a much better working relationship between the big league teams and the minor league teams because you're going to be a partner for the next decade. And I really think that partnership aspect is going to help, but I also think it's going to really resonate with fans. If you think of being in a city and you have a minor league team that's changed affiliations, it's hard to have that connection to the guys that make it to the big leagues. Well, in Springfield, we've been super fortunate and where we've been here now for 15 seasons, 16 years. So our fans have an emotional connection with Matt Carpenter. They have an emotional connection with Tommy Edman. Everyone's excited to watch Dylan Carlson. Well, we did. We saw him win Player of the Year here. We know what he's going to be. Well, now I think every other minor league market is going to start having that same draw to the players because they're not as worried about that affiliation changing. So, I think that grassroots is going to be really good for fans to be able to watch these different people go on and have these successes. Specifically, what else I think is great for us is our league, we added 2 people. So we're now, our AA Central is going to be 10 teams, whereas the year before, the Texas League was only 8. Well, that just adds to the pool of prospects. And you think about one of the teams is going to be affiliated with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Well, I don't know if you know the first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, but Paul Goldschmidt has some ties to the Diamondbacks. He would have been an example of a guy that would have played against us coming through this league. And you think of a talent like that, I'm excited for what that means for our fans. At least for us here in AA Central, to be able to see even more future big league stars.
You just brought that up, and that's a clean transition, really, because new structure and COVID has led to new divisions. What are the expectations in that regard?
Don't let them get sick. So, but no, last year when we were hosting the alternate site, we had the full MLB protocol book that we were reading through, that we were following. Man, they take it so serious, as did we, that it's so important to make sure these guys stay healthy. If they're not staying healthy, then nothing else matters. And so we're going to have a lot of protocols, and we're not just going to have them, we're going to enforce them. And I think really that's what's expected from every team that's in the minors, is to do our best to both follow and enforce these protocols to make sure that the players have the ability to stay healthy, that they have the ability to compete, they have the ability to learn, and when needed, they have the ability to be called up and help out the St. Louis Cardinals franchise.
Well, and you're looking at the schedule now, it's a little different than in years past. Obviously you're having 6-game series, and I'm sure that has to do somewhat with kind of keeping things in a bubble in a sense and not spreading something if something were to happen. But what's the challenge of hosting 6 games against one team and what is the mindset of the team having to play essentially playoff series every week?
Yeah, these guys, they're professionals. And again, right now as they're in spring training, and when the minor league guys report, I'm sure that's what some of their coaching staffs are going to be talking about, but they're professionals. I mean, they're some of the best in the world at what they do. The biggest thing will probably be is the longer a series, the more there's the ability to have emotion brought into it. And so I think that's just going to be a conversation the coaches are going to have with the players, is making sure that they're having that stable line. Now, again, I'm not going to be involved with those discussions. That'll be between the players and the coaches, but that would be my guess. But honestly, I am extremely excited for the schedule. It is very, very different. But I think especially with COVID, that Major League Baseball did an amazing job of putting together a schedule that was good for the teams. It's actually more games than what I was expecting. We'll have 60 home games for our fans in this market, which I know they're so excited to have. But also that every Monday off day. I think it's great for the players this year to make sure that when they do have to travel, they have a way to travel in and out with an off day. And I also think for our fans, Mondays are historically across the minor leagues a horrible night. And so I think to eliminate the Mondays, our league actually voted on that. I think it's going to be great for fans. So I'm very excited about the schedule. I think Major League Baseball did an amazing job in presenting a very creative and fair schedule. But one of the things you alluded to, we don't play every team in the AA Central this year because you're right. They wanted to keep the bubble smaller. So by us playing our division and only 2 other teams, there's 3 teams that we're not coming in contact with. And I think they really deserve a lot of credit for being very creative, very safe, and maximizing the number of home games the teams could have.
Yeah, like you said, they've done an amazing job really kind of setting this up. Just want to kind of go back to something we were talking about earlier. You're talking about culture. You're talking about, the organization as a whole. And yes, winning is important. It's what you want to do. Everybody wants to win. But what is your actual mindset for this organization as far as preparing young men for a future, maybe not just in baseball, but in life in general as well? What's your guys' role in that?
First of all, what's interesting, it's to stay out of the way. And, I think if I would ever come in and start trying to have an agenda or try to teach those players, I would be focusing on the baseball side's job and not the business side. And I think anything I could say, I could say something that maybe goes against what they're trying to teach, not meaning to do any harm, but that you just run that potential where you have too many cooks in the kitchen. But what I have interacted with the different guys, it's exactly what we've talked about. It's talking about, the potential to have careers in other fields. To talk about, are they going to want to go into sales one day? What are their passions about? But those are, what I'll say, it's few and far between with really the guys who want to interact with me. I'm not going to go, I want to be nice to everyone. I want them to know who I am. I want them to know they can come and talk to me if they need to. And every now and again, you do have a guy who has that interest that I'll talk to more than others. But a lot of times it's to stay out of the way. And, the Cardinals put a lot of effort in terms of, sorry, my light goes off after energy here. So there we go. We'll just keep waving until it goes on. But no, the Cardinals, they put a lot of effort into hiring the right people and putting the right people around the players. And I trust the system. I think that the front office and the Cardinals does an amazing job. I've met some great character people along the way. And I want to make sure that I never take away from what they're trying to teach those players. If I get a chance to have a relationship with any of them where they want some guidance or to talk about other stuff, I will. But I really want to make it a point to never run the risk of going against what the Cardinals are trying to teach them.
That's a very, very good point. Now, what were some of the guys that came through the Cardinal system? What were some of your favorite players, favorite guys to talk to, favorite guys to watch on the field?
Yeah, so let's start with the first side of that, is favorite people. One of my first favorite players was Brendan Ryan. And the reason I liked him had nothing to do with baseball. And, when you work in sports, sometimes your views changed, and mine definitely has. I cheer for the guys who are good people versus the guys that are the best players. But Brendan Ryan, we would run a promotion like most every team where kids go out on the field to stand with the team. And I remember every time we'd be doing that, I'd have my hand over my heart for the national anthem, and Brendan would be crouched down and talking to kids. And I'd be like nervous, like someone's going to yell at you for not paying attention. but he took an effort to every kid who stood with him to try to get down on their level and connect with them. And then even when he became a big leaguer and he came back and rehabbed, he signed every single autograph that people wanted. And even to the point there was a high school game that was going on afterwards, and Brendan had someone stand in front of him while the high school game was going on so that he could keep signing until everyone got one that could. And I just always thought, I always remember that as just a great character move of someone connecting with fans. And I'll always remember that. I always thought that was fantastic. But along the way, right now Matt Carpenter was everyone's favorite in Springfield. He sprinted off the field. He sprinted on the field, the no batting gloves. Our market, they loved him because he was seemed like the hardest worker they had ever seen. And I'll tell you, if you saw him when he was in Double-A to what he looked like in the big leagues, he worked tremendously to turn into that, that double power hitter as opposed to being the single go the other way. The guy just tremendous work ethic that I really respect a lot. I think some of the other ones I'll talk about right now, Dylan Carlson. Everyone wants to know about Dylan Carlson. And what was amazing about him, he really fits that category of people I think were great people, but also they were really fun to watch. But Dylan, from the moment he arrived until the day he left, he was looking for improvement every day. And, I had a media member send me an email that said, hey, on media day, he's the first player I've ever seen that went out of his way to walk over, shake their hands, and say, thank you for being here for media day.
Wow.
And so I just think he's a class act, and he works hard. He wants to improve. But that's the kind of mentality that takes someone from being good to great. And I've got a lot of hopes for him, just because I liked him as a person, but also because he just seems like he's going to be a Cardinal favorite for a long time. So I definitely wish the best for him. As far as players, since we started in 2005, we've had 114 players who have gone on from Springfield to play for the St. Louis Cardinals. And there's certain ones that they just seem like they played the game a little different. The first one I remember like that was Colby Rasmus back in about 2007. He just played at a different speed where I always wanted to, whatever I was working on, to kind of stop, look over my shoulder, and watch Colby Rasmus taking it at bat. The same was true for Matt Adams. Whenever Matt Adams came through here, he, to me, was one of the first prototypical sluggers that came through, that the ball sounded different when he hit it compared to other people. The same thing, back to back, he was the Texas League Player of the Year, and then Oscar Taveras was here the next year as Texas League Player of the Year. And again, he was almost a hybrid between Colby Rasmus and Adams in terms of what he brought to the table. And I think those guys, Dylan Carlson is probably the other one to me that really jumps out, that, he just played the game a little bit different. And, you hear guys say that, and there's a lot of truth. When you're watching Double-A baseball and you can have that eye test, some players are at a different speed. Jack Flaherty, Dakota Hudson, when they were here pitching, they were insane. They were so good to watch. Trevor Rosenthal, he was another one, just the power. Shelby Miller was another pitcher that just, he just mowed guys down. So I think that those are just some of the names of players that just seemed, they seemed so special when they were here. But there's so many more. And that's the thing is I hate starting to name players because you don't want to leave anyone out. But that's what's really cool about being with the Springfield Cardinals. That's what's great about being affiliated with St. Louis. And that's what's been so neat to see 114 of these players go on to play for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, and not all of them do end up staying with the Cardinals. Are you still excited seeing them succeed in the majors, even if it isn't with the Cardinals? I would think you'd have to, because you got a chance to grow with them.
Absolutely. And you look at a guy like John Jay. I think he's he's a great former Springfield Cardinal, former St. Louis Cardinal that's had a great career. Another one of the guys that's one of my all-time favorites was Greg Garcia. That guy, he was a grinder. He hustled. I always remember seeing, it's pretty special to get a walk-off hit by pitch. That's a guy that's taking it for the team right there. But Greg Garcia was another one of those hustle guys. And I told him this when he was here on Caravan, is that, as my sons get older, that's the type of ball player I want him to be. It's not to have the slugger, the guy that's league player of the year, but it's the player who does smart things, who hustles, who grinds it out. and is willing to be a good team player. And that to me was Greg Garcia. So I don't care where Greg Garcia goes, I will always cheer for him, just because of the way he approached the game and went about it.
Oh, 100% agree. And you talked a little bit about guys coming down to rehab. So you have big name major league players that come down to Springfield. What's the mindset of, the team itself when a guy like that comes down there? Is there any special things that are done extra for them, or is it really just about making them feel a part of the team and maybe giving them a little bit of chance to let off some steam and be like one of the guys again?
I hate it when a player is here because it means he's not helping the St. Louis Cardinals. And the most important thing is for the St. Louis Cardinals to win games. But every time that a big leaguer comes down, it's really neat to watch the interactions. And what I would say is that when you take someone that's a big personality, that's always joking around with his teammates, and he's a minor league guy that, he works hard, plays hard. The funny part is the second that a Wainwright or Molina walks into the room, he's silent. And it's like they understand their role is to observe every single thing that they do on how do you prepare to be great. And I think that's one of the neat things to watch is the young players. I mean, they want to take it all in. They want to learn. They want to get better. They want to hone their craft. And I'll tell you, it's really cool to watch that interaction that they have. But I think the guys too. I think the guys, they remember where they came from. They remember long bus rides. They remember they remember everything about it. And I think that they do a great job of paying it forward. There's kind of a tradition, if you're a big leaguer, that you're going to buy a really nice meal for the guys to really treat them. And it's been really neat to see the appreciation the players have, the excitement that they have. But it's also something I think that makes the big league guys feel good too, because they genuinely want to help. Molina specifically, anytime he's come down here, to see him take an interest in the hitters, the pitchers, the catchers, the young Latin players, you can just see every single type of person he's trying to help, and it's amazing. Wainwright was a blast to have here. I joked around with him when he was here. The first time in our team history that we changed the game time the day before was because we were going to have weather and Wainwright was pitching. Well, our primary job when he's here is to give him the innings to get him healthy and back to St. Louis. So we moved our game time, and he was very nice about it. Joke's like, so you've never moved a game time and you're doing it for me? It's like, yeah, we want you getting back to the big leagues. And Wainwright, everyone has a great story to tell about Wainwright. And what I've told people here is that I think he's a great person. And I don't care if he's talking to a teammate, a front office person, the media, a fan. I think he stops and listens and treats every person like they're the most important person he could be talking to at the time. And I think both him and David Eckstein came in for a special event here. They both had this quality that they make people around them feel special. And again, those guys are examples of guys who are amazing athletes, but they're even better people.
That they are, for sure. Spring training is going on right now. So we don't know for sure who will be on the team, but who are some of the guys that are looking to come to Springfield that Cardinal fans need to keep an eye on?
Well, none of them want to come to Springfield. They all want to go to St. Louis. So yeah, God, I know.
Well, yeah, you get it.
Yeah. So the next wave, it's really not fair for me to comment on that. I don't know. First of all, let me just say I don't know who's coming here. I have no access to that information. But I know every one of those guys, they would rather work and hopefully make it to Memphis or St. Louis than they would to Springfield. But I'll tell you, our fans, they have not yet had the opportunity to watch Nolan Gorman. So I think our fans are salivating to see that power swing come here. Ivan Herrera is getting even more and more, pub about how good he is. So I think they're going to be excited to see them. I think both Zach Thompson and Matthew Liberatore, those are guys we haven't seen either. And so I don't want to say that's who I'm projecting. I'm just going to say those are four names that our fans haven't got the opportunity to see yet that I think that they would love to see. And I think that's, again, I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. I'm not hiring coaches. I'm not making player moves. I'm not deciding who's coming to Springfield. So the St. Louis Cardinals front office takes care of that. My job is to make sure they come into the best environment that they can.
It's so hard to take the fan out of the job too. And that's kind of why we got into sports talk and not actual sports management stuff, is because, when you talk about it, the fan in you, especially someone that's grown up in the town that you are now a part of the organization in, how difficult has that been to, kind of take that fan out of you, but still being a fan at the same time?
I never want the fan to be taken out of me, because I think that's what got me the job. That's what's kept me motivated. That's what's kept me creative. One of the things that I always go back to is, what do fans want? And when we're trying to come up with promotions and trying to have a great experience and environment at the ballpark, I hope that I always have the mentality of a fan to know what the fans want. So I hope I always keep that connection. And that's the part I've told people. Do I think it's cool when David Eckstein comes in town and I get to host him for dinner? Yeah, it's really cool. When Ozzie Smith comes to town, yeah, I grew up a diehard Ozzie fan. So I have to learn to play it cool, but it's great. It's amazing. And that's why I have my job. And I think that's the part, to have a balance of how to always stay professional, but be a fan in my heart. And it served me well. And I hope that I always have that. Because I think as long as I can keep working to have the experience of what do fans want, that keeps us in check from doing what's self-serving and trying to serve them. And in the couple of years that I've been general manager, that mentality has worked really well to help our attendance start ticking up. But it starts with, I don't want to lose being a fan, and I hope you guys don't either, because that's why you have the jobs that you can be passionate about. So don't lose it, just learn how to control it.
Obviously, with COVID restrictions, you can only have so many fans in the stands. What is the number that, at least to start the season, will be allowed in the stands at Hammons Field?
We don't have a firm number. We're working with the local Greene County Health Department to work on a plan on what we're going to do. But a lot of it comes into our members. We're getting ready to email them later today or tomorrow to make sure that they're coming back, because we're going to seat all of them. And depending on how many groups of 4 versus 3 versus 2 fill in is going to determine how we can spread out the rest of the stadium. So, we are going to follow and enforce every one of those protocols when it comes to social distancing, masking. We're going to enforce them all. And that's the part. I don't have a firm number, because we have to get through. It's a process to seat everyone that we're really undertaking right now.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to do, and the fact that we're finally able to kind of potentially let fans back in the stands going to get people very, very, very excited about it. Well, this is kind of the time where we let you plug. I mean, you kind of been plugging the team the entire time, but at this point, talk about what makes the Springfield Cardinals great and what fans can expect when they go to the stadium to watch the Cardinals play.
What I'll say is, if you're a baseball fan, you need to go see minor league facilities, because you get to be so close to the action. You get to see the future stars. If you're not a baseball fan, you need to go see a minor league stadium, because what's great about them, we're entertainment. We can't control if we have a great roster. We can't control if, we lose 75% of our games. We can't control it. So we have to focus on the fan experience. We have to come up with creative promotions. We have people that are excited to come here to, eat and to drink, to have fun family time, to have a great bobblehead giveaway that's creative, to watch fireworks with your family. So we are, yes, we have baseball. That's the core of what we do, is we provide a facility and we try to help the St. Louis Cardinals get better. Number 2, we are an entertainment venue for our community. And I think that, to me, is what's so neat about minor league baseball, is that, we are fighting for every consumer dollar to make sure they have a good time, to make sure they didn't just watch a game, but they got an experience. When I give speeches, I talk a lot about my parents. When we first started, my dad wanted tickets because he was a diehard St. Louis Cardinal fan. He grew up, 30 minutes south in Festus, Missouri, and he wanted to watch Cardinals baseball. And my mom got dragged here. My mom is now the bigger Springfield Cardinals fan. She loves to watch the guys and then see them get their first big league hit. She loves to watch the promotions with the kids standing next to the players. She loves to be here for the fireworks. She loves to see the shirts that we're going to give away, or the creative bobbleheads, and the goofy between promotions. And that's what minor league baseball is a lot about. Is being an amazing entertainment venue in your community. And I hope people come to visit. I think Springfield has got a lot to offer. The restaurants, we're here. The top tourist attraction in the state of Missouri is Bass Pro. They opened up a world-class, state-of-the-art facility that's winning awards with the Wonders of Wildlife Museum. So I think people should travel in for a great weekend or week in Springfield to really see the best of what it has to offer. And honestly, we hope that we're one of those things that the community's proud of, that when they have friends and family come in town, it's like, hey, we got to take you to a Springfield Cardinals game, because it's not just about the game, it's about the entertainment you're providing for the community.
And you're going to be in Springfield very shortly, aren't you, Joe?
Yeah, actually, the second weekend in June, I will be in Springfield starting Thursday, and I will be leaving Monday. And I saw that they were in town, so I may have to go to a game, because I've never seen Hammons Field.
If there are tickets available, you should. And I say if because we have to start with social distancing until restrictions are lifted. We may only have tickets for members. We hope that we're going to have some available for the public. I think we'll have some small numbers, but they might be grass only. But make sure to get your tickets early.
I will. I need to, because I've seen Memphis. I've never seen Springfield. Like, I've never gone into Hammons Field. I've seen it outside, but
one, you should be here this year. Two, you need to come back when restrictions are lifted so you can really fully experience it. Because things are going to be different this year. We need to keep the players safe. We need to keep the fans safe. We need to keep our staff safe. So it'll be different. So you need to have 2 trips to Springfield, one this year and then one next.
I will. I mean,
put it on the books, definitely. And I've been fortunate enough. I live out in O'Fallon here in Missouri, and we had the River City Rascals for a long time. Obviously, Josh Kinney, a connection as well. So I got to experience that, but that's the Frontier League, still a different tier. And I know some of those Frontier Leagues are getting folded into the PLD as well. But yeah, getting down a chance to see Springfield, just an amazing city, a lot of great things. And now the fact that, the Cardinals are there, they've been there since 2005. It's going to be a great experience. So yeah, make sure you get out there for sure, especially when restrictions are lifted. Dan, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. I know I've gotten a ton of insight about how the minor league system works and how the structure works as well. Anything else you want to get out there about the Cardinals or about yourself?
My wife's awesome. So we'll say my wife's awesome. I have a 2 and a 5-year-old sons that are both balls of energy. But I would just say when it comes to the Cardinals or the Springfield Cardinals, come see us. It's going to be great, whether you want to come with buddies, with family, with work. And I hope that everyone supports whatever minor league team they're in. And I always tell people that you can cheer for whatever big league team you want. You should always support your local minor league teams.
That's great advice. Well, Dan Reiter, the general manager of the Springfield Cardinals, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we get a chance to see you in the near future down in Springfield. That'd be an absolute blast for us, for sure.
I hope so too, guys.
Awesome. Well, once again, Dan Reiter from the Springfield Cardinals. Great interview. I honestly had no idea about the structure of the minor league system and really what a general manager of a minor league team was all about, because I was under the mindset and the impression that it was just like general manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. They were in charge of, hiring, firing, all the player decisions. It makes sense that the top organizational guys would do that, but it is a different perspective when you actually get to talk to somebody that's a part of that.
Well, it's amazing because I thought the GM was, one of my questions that I was going to ask him, and I'm glad I didn't because it would have not been right, was what's it like? Are you a part of those decisions that a player talking to a player that comes in or leaves Springfield? How does that work? Well, seems like they don't really have, do much in terms of, player transactions. They just are more of the PR staff. It just seems kind of interesting to me.
Oh, yeah. It makes you sit there and think, oh, maybe I could do something along those lines as well. I mean, obviously, having a marketing degree and things like that help a lot in that instance. But it's also nice to sit there and really hear him say that, he is about the community. And I think when you talk about minor league baseball, especially, being a part of the community is huge. The St. Louis Cardinals as a whole, as an organization, are very, very community involved. And a lot of major league teams are, whether it's baseball, hockey, football, basketball, they are involved in the community. But when you talk about the lower levels, and in lower levels is still kind of for me, I look at it and go, it's not so much lower levels, it's more about development. And that's, obviously the developmental league that they're now a part of. It is about building those grassroots campaigns, about the groups of people that will come in there. You have to be community involved. And Springfield, Memphis, Palm Beach, all these smaller areas that are associated with the Cardinals organization, they do such a great job of being a part of the community and really growing the Cardinal brand, not just through baseball.
Yeah. Also, I know there's only going to be 3 teams for each affiliate. It's going to be an A-ball team, AA, AAA. There's no high A anything, which is going to be interesting, Wags. How do you think that's going to work?
It is going to be different for sure, because there's only so many places that you could, and I don't want to say stick players, but like he was saying, the fact that these affiliates now have 10-year deals, it gives you the ability to impart on these guys a certain system and a certain mantra. Whereas if you're in years past, you're on 2-year deals with these other organizations, you could go from being a Cardinal one to a Dodger one to a Brewer one, and you get, in the course of 6 years, which a lot of minor leaguers are in that position where 6, 7, 8 years in the minor league system, you may be learning 3 different systems. And that might actually be why some of these guys have to stay in the minors so long, because it's potentially hindering their ability to rise up, because they're having to learn a new system every couple of years. So I think it actually is going to benefit a lot of the organizations and a lot of the players. Now, with that being said, less opportunities for some of these guys that normally would play in like a high A ball or a low A ball or something like that. They may have to go to a league, an indie ball league, which is not bad in any sense of the word. It still gets them out playing baseball, but it's a little bit different of a mindset. And it's, it may make them not that they don't work hard, like he said, like Dan said, Matt Carpenter is one of the hardest working guys you had. And, Brendan Ryan was another guy that worked hard. It is going to, push these guys to work hard to try and get back into that minor league system that feeds these teams. So, your competition factor and your talent level, I think, is going to rise immensely because of this.
What if a guy's struggling at A-ball? Are they going to – I wonder if these frontier leagues are going to just become part of, going forward, maybe not this year, but a part of, the Major League Baseball feeder system. We talked with Chelsea Ladd a couple times, and I'd like to get her back on just to talk about that, because it's interesting to me how it all will work, not having as many levels.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And, you're looking at it as, you've got AAA, you've got AA, and see, you're actually going to have 4 teams because you've got AAA with Memphis, AA with Springfield, then you're going to have Single A Advanced, which is Peoria, and then you're going to have Single A, which is Palm Beach. So there's actually going to be 4 teams that the Cardinals have as part of their structure. But
so there is a high A. I mean, if you want to call it that. I mean,
Single A Advanced. So however you want to, I guess, label it is, maybe a high A and a low A. I'm not sure. But I still think it's going to bring a level of competition that we may not have seen in years past when it comes to the minors, for sure. It's going to be an absolute blast. Like you said, May 4th is going to be the start of their season. I'll pop that schedule back up there for you guys. They're going to be hosting Wichita. The Wichita Wind Surge will be May 4th opening night for the Springfield Cardinals. And once again, 6-game series. I'm excited about that. And I know it's going to help cut down on travel. It's going to help cut down on costs. And it also is going to be to help preserve, a semi-bubble that this league is trying to be a part of. I'm excited for that. I think that's the biggest thing that I took away from it, was that you're going to be building up some rivalries. You're going to be kind of preparing your teams for future postseason play. And I love it. I don't know about you, but what do you think?
The one thing that stuck out to me was the Monday off days. Every Monday is an off day, which makes a lot of sense when you have to travel. My thing is with COVID and everything, and we talked about this during the baseball season last year, wouldn't it just be easier to travel on the day of the game? Like, I wonder if teams are going to be doing that.
You got to remember, though, this is not the major league level. The major league level, they fly.
But don't they kind of take something?
These teams drive a lot.
That's true. That's very true. And I mean, look at the Cardinals when they came back. Even though this is Major League, I get it. But the Cardinals went to Chicago in rental cars. I get it. I totally get it. So it'll be interesting to see what their testing is like. I mean, is the Major League testing going to be the same as minor league testing? Can you really answer that for sure, Wags? I mean, what do you think? Should it be the same as Major League testing?
Well, once again, it's all under the Major League umbrella now. So I'm thinking that you're probably going to have a lot of similarities in the structure of how things are being done. I mean, it may not be as daily as the Major League system, but it probably will be. I mean, I'm sure that they want to do everything possible to make sure the season goes on and to make sure everybody stays healthy. I mean, as Dan said, it is about the safety of the players, the personnel, the fans, everybody that's associated. It's all about the health and safety of them. So they're going to do whatever Major League Baseball tells them to do. And they did a great job last year. Like he said, they were the alternate site last year. So they've already gone through what the expectations are going to be like, what it's going to look like to test and to be protective and to do everything the right way. So honestly, a team like Springfield is ahead of the curve when it comes to what this season is going to be looking like and the expectations, because they've already gone through this. And you're going to have that with any other team that was in alternate site last year. They have a little bit of a leg up. It's still not going to be easy, but they know what to expect, and the players know what to expect, and the personnel and the teams and the staff, they all know what to expect, and they're going to put out the best product they can and the safest product they can for the entire season.
The one thing I wanted to ask him so bad was, when a player gets called up from level to level, I wonder what their quarantine status is going to look like. Are these players going to be quarantining? I mean, we talk about it in the NHL with, if someone comes up from Utica, they have to quarantine for a little bit. So I know the NHL and Major League Baseball or minor league baseball is different, but I would have liked to have heard what those protocols are and how long they have to quarantine.
Well, I mean, you can definitely look them up. I'm sure that Major League Baseball has provided those out there for people to peruse so that they can understand what it is. Not like they're trying to hide anything. So
Right.
Once again, just a great conversation with Dan Reiter from the Springfield Cardinals. So thankful for him joining us today, talking a little bit about himself, about the Springfield Cardinals organization, and really what it kind of looks like to be a part of a minor league baseball operation. It's a lot different than what we expected, but it's such great insight, and I'm even more excited to go see a game at Springfield, at Memphis. It's definitely something that I'm going to have to make sure I do here in the next year or so, because like you said, tickets may not be available this year. Members are going to be first priority, obviously, because they are the ones that are supporting the team. But if there are tickets available, make sure you get them early. Make sure you take a trip down to Springfield. Check out the Cardinals. Check out the city as a whole, because I've been to Springfield a couple of times, haven't been able to go to a Cardinals game. But Springfield as a whole is an absolutely great city, and you definitely need to visit it.
Just going out on the town in Springfield, there's nothing like it. It's so much fun. Just doing certain things, going to certain clubs, going to this, going to that. I actually spent some time at Trops. If you don't know what Trops is, it's basically a smoothie place, like a frozen slushy place, alcoholic drinks. It's so weird to think about, but it was actually really good. They have a really good burger place down there. I think it's called Black Sheep. That's something you need to check out because it is so good. Probably one of the best burgers I've ever had.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome. And I'm a burger connoisseur. I mean, go on.
Yes, that you are. So make sure you check it out. And honestly, make sure you guys, follow Joe's trip to Springfield when he goes down there as well. I'm sure we can get Joe to live tweet, or at least, keep us updated about what he's got going on down in Springfield. And if he does get a chance to go to a Springfield Cardinals game, have him kind of tweet through that as well, because it's just another great example of another great city here in Missouri that gets overlooked at times. So once again, thank Dan Reiter for joining us from the Springfield Cardinals. A great interview there. Make sure you check out the interview if you want to see it again or you missed it. Anywhere you can find our podcast. We'll be back with you guys tonight at 9:00 for Crunch Time Nightly here on Facebook and not Amateur Sports, ASTV Productions. Make sure you check that out as well. Also, if you missed our radio show as well, you can catch that every Sunday from 9 to 11 on KYRO, 1280 AM, 105.3 FM. Joe, you got a big interview lined up tomorrow night for Crunch Time Nightly. Talk a little bit about who you have coming on and what we can expect.
I have Canadian talk show host Rod Peterson, and he probably has the following, if no one knows who he is, of a Dan Patrick in the States. So this is going to be a huge interview for me. First time I've actually gotten to run a big time interview. So this is going to be fun for me. I've followed him a little bit, and he has some pretty good stuff. I mean, sitting there talking hockey with him tomorrow will be a blast. That is for sure.
Oh, yeah, make sure you check that out tomorrow night. Unfortunately, I'll be playing hockey, so I'll not be a part of that. And just a quick announcement from a friend of the show. I know she was teasing a big announcement at 2:00 today, and that's Learn over at KSHE. For those of you, and I think this is going to interest you, Joe, Monday Night Metal is coming back tonight at 9:00, and it's going to be hosted by Learn. Following in the footsteps of Radical Rich and Tom Turbrock, Monday Night Metal is back on KSHE. Are you excited, Joe?
Yes, I am. It'll be interesting to see what this first lineup's going to be. That's for sure. Were you a metal fan at all? Like 80s metal, stuff like that?
Dude, Iron Maiden, Led Zeppelin, Metallica. I mean, yes. I mean, everything metal. That's my dad's go-to. I mean, he is metal to the core. And for me growing up, I have such an eclectic group of musical taste because on one side I have my dad who is KSHE, metal, all that kind of stuff. And on the other side, my mom was, contemporary, Carpenters, Amy Grant, all that kind of stuff. And yet somehow they met in the middle because she likes Poison and Bret Michaels. So that's how I'm pretty sure that's how the marriage works. It's held together by Poison and Bret Michaels.
No, that's what I was going to say. So metal and contemporary turns into Poison and Bret Michaels.
I guess so. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a big metal fan. I'm just a big music fan in general. Obviously, talking to John Hewlett last week was a joy, having been able to do that now twice. But it's just great to hear somebody like that who is part of a classic rock station also sit there and say, look, I like listening to music. If it's good and it's got a good rhythm or what have you, music is good. You may not be a rap fan or a country fan or a classical fan, but if there is something that kind of catches your ear, you're going to listen to it and you're going to enjoy it. And that's exactly how I am. I'm not pigeonholed into one genre, although I do listen to more alternative and rock than anything else. But if it's got a good rhythm, a good beat, and a good message, I'm all for it.
Green Day?
Green Day was my first concert.
Favorite album? Was it Dookie?
Here's the thing. Back when I was younger, I essentially wasn't allowed to listen to groups like Green Day. So I didn't actually get a chance to really dive into Green Day until American Idiot came out. That was when I was kind of going through my formative years of being, buying my own music and having a car I could drive on my own and listening to what I wanted. So I gravitated to American Idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But backtracking, yeah, I mean, Dookie's a great album. So many great songs on it. In retrospect, yes, it is there. But for me, the one I connect to most is American Idiot. But they have so many great things across a bunch of different albums that it's hard to really pick just one and say that's definitive Green Day.
Yeah, I remember before the All-Star game here in St. Louis.
Yep.
That was awesome. I mean, they played a couple songs. I wish they would have played a little bit more, but once they played during the once they played during the intermission at the All-Star game, and they played the songs I really wanted to hear too. So I like the fire. I'd like to know how they got the fire to not hit and burn any fans. I don't know how that worked because of how the flames were kind of along the boards there. I don't know if you saw the intermission,
I was at the game, so yeah.
So, like, Wags, were you kind of wondering that too? Like, how are these fans being protected?
No, I mean, because I mean, they've done this at concerts for years, and they've done this in many other events. It's all about the pyrotechnics and things like that. Honestly, I'd love to get somebody on here that does things like that, like stage setup or pyrotechnics or anything like that, to really kind of get a little bit of a backstory and a background on how that works. Because yeah, there's a lot of liability concerns when it comes to that, but they do such a good job of protecting and directing things that I'd feel safe and comfortable down there if I was in there. But see, I'm in the nosebleeds. I love the nosebleeds because you can see how everything happens. But yeah, that I would be okay with that.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that too.
Lester, we have an American idiot at my karaoke show, and Joe knows who it is. Is it Joe?
No, it's not. He actually bowls on my team too. So I like it's. I'll introduce you to him sometime. Well, I'm just gonna leave that description. That's a perfect description, Lester. That's for sure.
Oh boy. All righty, guys. Well, thank you for joining us again. Thank you to Dan Reiter from the Springfield Cardinals for joining us. We hope to have him on again soon as the season gets underway. And once again, hopefully we can get down there and catch a game with the Cardinals, because it's baseball. It's the minor league experience. You have to be a part of it. So, and one final note before we get it, Joe sings good.
You heard me sing. You said it wasn't bad. So I don't want to hear it.
I said it wasn't bad. I didn't say it was good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Once this is over, you need to come out with me to karaoke one night. One night. No, just one night.
As long as I don't have to sing.
What?
So as long as I don't have to sing.
No, you don't. Just come out and,
I love sitting around watching people make fools of themselves. It's pretty cool.
Hey, you got to put yourself out there, right?
Not necessarily.
All righty, whatever.
All right, man. Well, once again, catch us tonight on Crunch Time Nightly here at 9 o'clock on Facebook and ASTV Productions. For Joe, I am Wags. Have a great rest of your Monday and enjoy this heat wave.